BigE, welcome to the show. You got bigged up in the episode that I've just done with Colligan for your spreadsheet amends. So there you go.
Glad to help.
Tell us about yourself. How long have you been into influence?
So I missed the initial wave of backing, I guess, when people were getting all these extra perks and whatnot. So I forget what year that was. That might have been like 2021.
It was 2021.
2 year wait for me for the release. So I've been about as patient as most of the people on here. But
Wow.
yeah, I've picked up a few rocks. I think I got almost all of them off the secondhand market. Um, so I had some stuff with bonuses and different things, but yeah.
And now the game is finally here. You can use those fancy crewmates and those rocks. Where are you based in the game at the moment?
So I'm almost evenly split right now between Adalia Prime and Greytower, which is one of Star Wars Freak's rocks.
Hmm.
So what I realized as I was planning my strategy going into release was I have four mediums in the major Trojan, and one was a C type. The largest was a C type, and the other three were I types. And I'm thinking, okay, I can use the C type to help build up the infrastructure on the I types, and I can export a lot of volatiles.
And
Um,
then,
as we were doing more game theorizing, and after we got a month or two into release, I realized that the combo rocks are probably much more useful. Um, so Greytower is a CIS. Um,
Jonah, bring this up.
yeah, let's do that.
Shoutouts, Star Wars Freak. We're all following your Grey Tower updates in first Discord.
Yep,
So educational.
don't need no tutorial. Get out of my face. Um, so here we are. So to answer your original question, I'm pretty evenly split. I have um, more infrastructure on Adalia Prime than I do currently here on Greytower, but I'm slowly building more and more. Um, and I will be focusing my future efforts on exporting from Greytower to Adalia Prime, 104, any other rocks that need my exports. Um,
And what specifically are you seeking to produce and export at the moment? What's your thinking?
so right now I'm focused on two things. One is the production of sulfur as a more concentrated form of sulfur dioxide for shipment in anticipation of a sulfur burning process. I'm going to be able to fit a lot more sulfur onto my heavy transports. Let's see, where did I put it? I guess it's this one here. Okay, yeah. So I've got one load of sulfur dioxide ready to go here. I've got some pure sulfur ready as well, and then I figure tungsten export probably be something that will be important. I'm trying to plan ahead for materials that we're going to run out of on
Mm.
AP. So my first commercial merchant venture ever was I went to 104 and brought back an entire heavy transport worth of graphite. And I've been a little bit disappointed at the failure of graphite prices to increase. I don't know how much of that is due to hoarders slowly working through their stock, and how much of that is a lack of demand. Um, but I think that we'll see, and so the same thing with pyroxene and tungsten, that I think prices have to go up um, pending further supply. So I aim to try and fill that demand. So I've currently got two heavy transports flying in opposite directions, from Adalia Prime to Greytower and vice versa. Fortunately, the game UI doesn't do a super job of telling me which one is which. So I click on it. Which one is this? Yeah, so this one's going to Adalia Prime. One of our alliance mates is basically buying all the beryllium that I produce in my aluminum foundry. So I brought some extra beryllium for him, and then the rest of it's just straight up sulfur in anticipation of that process getting added by Proto.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so I'm pre-staging, I would call it, some sulfur supplies there. Um, I forget what the exact ratio is going to be, but I think it's about a 2.5 to 1. So ideally, I could turn 12 kilotons of sulfur into like 30 kilotons of
Mm,
sulfur dioxide. Um,
very efficient.
that's what I'm hoping.
So you're producing sulfur and tungsten on Greytower. What are
Mhm.
you making on AP fuel?
A lot of it has been fuel. I'll show you my operation here. It'll take a second to load. So I unfortunately built warehouses on all of these lots right before the tank farm was introduced. So I spent like a week demolishing my first 6 warehouses here and replacing them all with tank farms.
Yeah, well,
So
at least you weren't like me and did the same and then exported those crews to other rocks. So I can't
yeah,
deconstruct.
don't do that. So I've got, this one is half full, I want to say, and then this one is completely full.
Hmm.
So 75 kilotons. Most of it is limit ordered on the market, but I refuse to uh, go below my cost basis. So um, I've noticed that propellant prices, they kind of fluctuate, um, and so I don't chase the market, and I think that there will be supply gluts and there will be shortages, and when those shortages happen, people will the limit orders will get bought up to where mine are. And I've seen it happen multiple times. This isn't just theory. Um, and then some of my supply will sell at a price that I'm comfortable with.
Hmm. And you're willing to wait for that to happen.
I'm willing to wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
it requires patience for sure. I definitely, early on when I was building out here, I started building in large quantities. Okay, yeah, you can't necessarily see this, um, but I've got like 1,000 power modules on the market right now,
Hmm.
and you know 600 thermal modules. These sort of things, like, is way more than, let's see, pull up my, I've got about 400 solids modules still, bunch of power modules, bunch of thermal modules, a few habitation modules. I just started building things, right?
Hmm.
Somewhat for the sake of building it.
Hmm.
I think I was probably the first person to mass produce aluminum
Hmm.
on AP. Um, so that gave me a head start on some of the module production, and especially on heavy transport production, because so much of the initial cost of building heavy transports was tied up in aluminum based products. So the cargo module is all aluminum. The hull is like 90% aluminum.
Hmm.
So I built some of these modules just for myself as well. But It's been great having support from the alliance members with the propulsion modules because I did not want to have to tackle that complex supply chain myself.
Yeah, okay. So speaking on aluminum in this case, when you were the first or early producer of that on AP, were you producing via the seeded goods or were you importing at that stage?
I tried multiple different things. So aluminum itself wasn't seated, but like the hull plates and like the materials needed to build hulls were all seated.
Hmm.
So I found that it was valuable to basically try and take the supply chain as far as you could with the resources you had available. So simply like refining feldspar into alumina or aluminum uh, was not really valuable in terms of there wasn't the demand at volume at those levels. So like I could produce a kiloton of aluminum and nobody would buy it.
Hmm.
But if I refine that kiloton into a heavy hull, somebody will pay for that. So I basically just was trying to create as much value add as possible with that, um, which is part of why I had, originally I had these 8 refineries and then 2 factories and 2 shipyards. And then I started filling in more warehouses as I needed them and as I could acquire lots.
And are you still in the ship producing game on Adalia Prime?
Yes, but at a slower pace because the demand doesn't seem as solid
Hmm.
at the moment. Um,
Why do you think that is? The big buyers have already left?
I think it is a player base issue
Hmm.
at the moment. I think early on, a lot of the whales they may have had some. I think they got light transports with some of the backer rewards and stuff, but a lot of them didn't have heavy transports, or they didn't have a lot of heavy transports. So I like again, I skipped the shuttles, I skipped the light transports. I went straight to the highest priced item and built as many of those as I could as fast as I could. And there were people that were buying like 2 at a time
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I had a couple repeat customers, which was helpful. Uh, but now I think a lot of the people that wanted, you know, they're either they were able to build some of their own, um, or they've already bought 2 from me and they maybe made one of their own, bought one from somebody else, and they've got 4 and they don't feel the need that they need more than 4. And so until we get more players needing, more more infrastructure capacity, then that market appears to be softening. So part of what I've been doing is building them for my own inventory and turning it into a taxi service where and I have had a chance to work with K6 on building out one of his asteroids where I'm helping him get all of the material out to his rock so that he can build it up, and then he's going to pay me back with some of the raw goods that he'll be producing there. So it's kind of a win-win in that regard.
So what's next for you on AP? Is it increasing inventory?
Yeah, so I'm kind of at an inflection point
Hmm.
here where I honestly I can't, as with any business, can't just build inventory for the sake of having inventory in perpetuity. So the non-seeded raws are obviously slowly increasing in price, and I'm coming to a point where I have to decide whether I'm going to keep all of this infrastructure and uh, potentially just import the non-seeded raws, the non-C type raws that I need to continue the building, to keep all of these buildings busy, or I'm gonna cut down on my infrastructure and or just make almost all of it available for rent and other people can use it. Um, that's kind of where I'm at an inflection point with. So hopefully the player base continues to grow, more people are starting out on AP and they need to buy things, and I'm able to keep things going. Um,
At what point do you think you will reach a sort of the situation of settling your own rocks?
I am actually debating whether to or not.
Hmm.
Um, the newsflash, they're actually for sale. If somebody wants to pick them up, you can message me. Uh, but I'm not sure. The one value that they have is that because they are in the Trojans together, the distances to transport between them is re- always small. It's really, really short. It's really easy to move out there. But I'm not sure that given current player levels and demand for, say, Sulfur, that I need to go all the way out there when I can just continue to use Greytower at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Um, if I was to colonize my own rock, um, I think I would prefer to get a CI rock, um, if I could, instead of the separate season eyes. Um, so that's kind of a can't push the undo button on that one, but that's kind of where I'm mulling through.
Yeah, what attracts you about a CI in particular?
Just the ability to mine those raws together. Um, I think it would be more beneficial than having them individual.
Hmm.
And honestly, the CIS um, footprint seems to be better than even that. So yeah, my initial vision was big gas station. um, and now I'm not so certain.
Yeah,
And I have finite resources, so I can't do everything all at once.
understood. Understood. How are you feeling about the game in general? So step outside the gameplay for a moment. Is it a game that you're having fun with over and above maybe the economic elements? How are you feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the gameplay loop is fun. I know they'll be adding more things eventually, like conflict. Um, I tend to be a builder
Hmm.
in anything that I do. Um, so the building a business, basically building the infrastructure, and playing the market on different goods, um, is it's fun for me. Um, Trying to figure out how to arbitrage different things being produced at different places at different prices, like I've mentioned with the sulfur and the tungsten and different things. Um, yeah, it's kind of like a big puzzle,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. So I think the game's fun. I hope more people find it. I hope more people join it. Um, I had the privilege of helping one guy who was new to our alliance. Kind of, I gave him a two-man crew and said, "Hey, here's how you can extract resources and make money, and start building things." And he's since spread his wings and is now doing his own thing within the game. So that's been kind of fun to kind of help a new player along. I hope we have more new players like that, even if they're not in a place to make an economic investment into the game. That because we have the ability to share resources, it doesn't cost me very much to give him two crewmates on a to lend him two crewmates for a week or two or three, and help him get started and say, hey, find some methane, sell it on the market, make some money, eventually turn that into 5 USDC, get your own crewmate, that sort of thing, and eventually bootstrap your way through it.
Being as hardcore as you are into the economics side of the game, is there anything that you could say to the team that would make your experience day to day that much better?
Either way, right here, me and you, bud. Um, the one glaring weakness that I see from an economic standpoint is the inability to search for deals slash, meta search the markets across the asteroid. So let's say I'm um, either I'm not in an alliance or I don't want to spend all day on Discord trying to talk to people and make ad hoc deals. Like in my mind, the game itself should be self-sustaining. Now, I understand people are making third-party tools, right, to kind of track things, but the inability to see what is being um, what people want to buy at other places on the asteroid belt. So, for example, let's say I'm here on Greytower um, with a uh, a bunch of propellant powders, right? And I want to have a service where I will come to your rock and I will deliver to you, you know, 12 kilotons of propellant powder so that you can make a ton of propellant with the hydrogen that you have on your rock, right? I have no way of finding anybody who wants that deal. Even if they had a marketplace and they put in a limit order for, I would like 4 kilotons of tungsten powder and 8 kilotons of silicon powder, please. If it's not someplace that I know to look, I have no way of finding them.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's something that should be there needs to be something above the level of the asteroid marketplace that allows me um, to find, you know, the same way the asteroid marketplace will rank buyers and sellers of a particular good,
Yep.
right? Allow me to see what the orders are on like all the asteroids, right? So on AP, the best selling price is this, and then on this other rock, the best selling price is that, and then on this other one, here, and I can see, oh wow, if I buy at this price and sell at this price, I'm doing the columns backwards. If someone's willing to pay this much, right, then I can go find them, and ideally, you would have some way of like making a contract, but even if not, first come, first serve, I know that there's a need there, and I can be like, hey, that order is big enough and at a large enough delta to where I can source it, or if I'm mining this myself, I'm willing to go for that price and incur the propellant cost. I'll go and I'll fill that order.
Yep.
Right now, that's only possible on an asteroid, but I feel like if we want to populate the belt and really get people on all of these independent rocks, like how are we going to know other than people just sending up a flare in Discord, you know
Oh yeah, that's it. I'm not at the point yet where I'm building out much intentionality beyond expansion on my rocks, but increasingly I'm getting to the point where I do have large surpluses. But it's like you say, if I wanted to identify a potential buyer for that product, I have no better option than to create some kind of ad hoc thread in a Discord.
right,
So I feel that.
which is okay while the community is small. I think we can kind of find each other, and even if it is a little annoying to feel like you're posting the same promo once a week, like, hey, anybody want to do this, hey, anybody need to buy this, you know it kind of works in a
Yeah,
small-ish community. But if we want to have 5, 10,000 daily active users, right, it's not going to work. It's just
yeah.
going to be bombarded. It's going to become noise instead of information.
Any other requests, given you've got the team
Hmm.
right here?
Um, we need to be able to burn sulfur, and we need to be able to turn triple superphosphate back into phosphoric acid. I know that Proto knows both of those things. Um, but as somebody who has refined 100 kilotons of apatite, at least, maybe 200 kilotons, can't just end up with triple superphosphate at the end of that and not have any way of turning it into something useful. I know that that's used in food production, but like there's way too much left over at the end. And I know
Yeah.
he's working on it. So fingers crossed we get that soon.
BigE, great to talk to you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Hope that you come to satisfactory conclusion about your industrial tipping point. I look forward to seeing where you take it.
Sounds good.